I love hearing your stories, and I know Rob is used to all your stories, and I'm sitting here listening to him, and I'm cracking up the whole time.
What, carpet time with Uncle Craig?
That's
And that was
we're
the
going
other-
to title this episode "Carpet Time" with
but that
Uncle
was
Craig.
the funny
There-
part is somebody posted the other day. I think it was
That's great.
Bendel. Bendel posted that he just found out that we were related by marriage.
I saw that, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think what I'm getting at is the value in your stories, whether long-winded or not, they bring a lesson, and you bring us in. You have me hooked, and I'm listening, and I think this is, to bring it back to talking about culture and tradition of the fire service, and what we're trying to do here is capture the characters in the stories. And you're quite a character, and I've known you a long time, and I cherish your friendship and brotherhood. And your stories, though, I think are so important because so many of them that you've told tonight, there's always that underlying little lesson learned or a little thing that a junior guy might be able to pick up on. Just the relationship between you two, or just there's so many things you said tonight that I sit here and I go, man, if I was a young kid, I would love to sit down and just hear your stories and watch this podcast, listen to, I value that, and that's for me is why we're doing this. And I thank you for all your stories, and I'm not trying to rush you by any means. I'm just saying that's sticking with me right now because a lot of our guests have a ton of stories to tell, and you're very forthcoming with them, and I appreciate that, and I think it's because you love the job and you love the brotherhood of it and sharing your knowledge. I mean, we don't want to see a guy with 41 years in walk away and not share your stories. And I thank you for that because I think it's hugely important for the fire service. Yeah. Absolutely.
Again, we talked about it. We had one guy with 29 years, one with 30, one with 27, and myself walk out the door in about a 2-year time frame.
Yeah, it's tough.
And that we lost a lot of experience here in this department.
Yeah.
And now, and that right there was the signal. The culture is going to change.
Yeah.
Because that senior man with 7 years is looking at things differently than when we were here.
Sure.
And you hope that some of the things that we set as a ground rules will continue on.
Yeah.
So to speak, and I don't think that there are still some great guys here that are going to be good senior men. And then there's some guys that just don't fit the role. You could have a guy be a great firefighter, but he's a lousy officer.
Yeah, agreed.
He just can't let go of that knob or he knows the job, but he can't make that transition.
Yep.
And I think the best part was I've had some good officers to work under. And I think the fact that when Rob became a lieutenant, on our group, we were firefighters together, so on a group 3. And then when Rob became the lieutenant on a group, we already had that rapport, so to speak, as equals. Now he's the boss.
Yeah.
And again, I think the best part, or the senior man has to allow the officer to become the officer.
Yeah.
I always hated when somebody would give an order and they would look at somebody else to see if it's okay.
Yeah.
And Rob was very open to suggestions. I could say, hey, Rob, think about this, and then he'd,
Yeah, I annoyed the shit out of him every day.
Yeah, and the other part was him coming from the city, him transferring from the city of Poughkeepsie.
Jets.
Me going into the city, I pretty much know the city, but I would say, Rob, it's 2:00 in the afternoon. Which is the best way to come in?
Exactly.
Which way do you think because he knew the city assignment, so he knew which way they were going to approach the scene. Which way do you want us to approach?
Right.
Which is our best way of going in? It may be a little, couple blocks longer.
Right.
But, this and here.
But it makes an impact.
Him and I went, we caught a job on Worrell Avenue, and we left from there, we came back, and then we caught a job down on the south end of the city. And, as we couldn't get close enough, and as they were walking up, there's a mayday going out, a guy's bailing out a window, and I'm looking at a hydrant that's orange. Orange sucks. They're not getting enough water. And, I'm looking for that secondary water source. And I said, Rob, I'm backing down the street. I'm going over a couple of blocks. And he goes, you're going to find a blue hydrant over here. And I went over and stood by the blue hydrant waiting for those orders to lay in.
Right.
But again, we both had our mindset on what needed to be done. And
Sure.
we always I think between him and I, we were always a step to 2 steps ahead of everybody else. Because we had already thought this process, now we're trying to anticipate the next move.
Yeah.
And, because we're in a business that's very unpredictable.
Yep.
And 1 second is good.
Fairview's doing it tonight.
Another box going out?
That's probably an ambulance call.
Fairview Rescue.
Yep.
And mobile life. Party to 63-year-old male intoxicated. Stabilization Center, 230 North Road to Washington.
I do not miss that.
Happy hour. Happy hour.
Fairview, mobile life. Party to 63-year-old male intoxicated. Stabilization Center.
Busy night in the view. But anyway, Rob, you got anything else before we wrap this up with?
Yeah, no, just that it was nice to have Craig as a senior guy because I knew there was information that, like, and I think we talked about it once. It was almost like a verbal diarrhea of things that were like completely useless, but yet on point. And like you would go there and find that, like, yeah, there's that fence that,
Yep.
John Jimroy fucking hit when he was coming to that fire alarm one night and he bailed out of his car, ran out of the firehouse. It's the third stone wall on the left.
Yep.
And I think that, like what Craig said about the communication, it was very comforting to know, like, we go to Roosevelt, and I don't know Roosevelt's district very well, but it would be this funny thing where if we were out where the hydrants were not, I'd jump out of the rig and all right, Craig, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
We're going to be up there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because he knew, like, and he knew where, having been a member of Roosevelt for so long, he knew where that hydrant was that we were going to connect to,
Right.
that the water shuttle was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think one night I left him alone, or it was an afternoon
Daytime.
fire. I left him alone. The fire engine disappeared. Bradley and I went up and we, did what we could up there and we worked. We came back. He came back with like an extra person. I'm like, where'd you find? And somebody in the chaos had left one of their members at
Yeah.
the bill
One
site
of
or
the other
something.
mutual aid departments left a member.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I knew right where the hydrant was, positioned the rig properly to fill all the tankers as they were coming in. And it was probably good 2-3 hours later, all of a sudden, here comes this rig. And, Rob and Brad jump off and they're like, well, what do we do with this guy? Do we
funny.
give him a ride home? And, one of the mutual aid departments said, no, we'll take him home.
funny.
You guys can go back,
That's
and,
funny.
and it's like,
Well,
One of the different Ubers that we had,
Yeah,
it was like this
yeah.
experience,
That's
but
funny.
Anyway, so.
Well, I have to tell you, this was awesome to get the two of you together because I know just Rob and I still getting to know each other, and you guys, quite a rapport between the two of you, and I think it's awesome. And I think on the bigger picture for all of our listeners and viewers, I think we're all very jealous of that relationship that you guys have because I think it's so important for an officer to have a senior man that they look at each other and that nonverbal skill or, that nonverbal command or discussion back and forth and knowing what one expects of the other and so on. Not everybody gets that. Not everybody has that in the fire ground. And
it was actually a pleasure to come to work.
awesome.
There were days that, you just don't want to get out of bed, but it was a pleasure to come to work because, again, I truly feel that when we went to 24s, I was against them because of my fire prevention position. But again, the group that we had made it nice to come to work.
Yeah.
We had Joe transfer in from Group 4, and the first thing I said to Joe was, calm down. And it was funny because we go to a fire, and the first thing Joe says to one of our volunteers is,
Calm
calm
down."
down. It's only a fire, and I looked over at Joe, and I just gave him a smile because, relax.
Yeah, and
You have to enjoy the job. You have to enjoy who you're with. We're going to have our, everybody's going to have
Sure.
their spits and spats, and one of the things, Rob always had our back, and we
Yeah.
always had his.
Right.
And I think that allowed Rob to do things, push that edge when it came to being an officer, when it came to doing training, when it came to being on the edge.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Taking that initiative to make a change.
Right.
In a department, we would bounce things off to each other. So if he had my support and I knew where he was going with it, it was easier to sell things to the other guys.
yeah, and I think and to just wrap this up, like that's the right thing. I mean, the fact, everybody talks about the firehouse and it's not just a job, whether you're volunteer or career. It's not just a job. It's a passion. It's a love. and for you, 41 years in, before retirement, still enjoyed coming to work every day. That's a testament to your attitude and your love for the job, and because of brothers like Rob and your group that you worked with that enjoyed having you. And I think that's so important, and I think that's getting lost. And I think we need to remember that, we all do this because we love it. Whether it's a job, it might be a job and it pays the bills or what have you. But at the end of the day, I think 90% of us got into the fire service because we love it.
Yeah.
Because,
well, people ask me, what am I going to miss the most?
Right,
A firehouse is a building. Fire engines are what's in the building.
Right.
But it's the guys in the building
Agreed.
that make the job what it is.
Yeah, I
You know?
agree. I agree.
And that's it. It's missing the guys. I get up in the morning and I said, hey, I'm going to go visit Rob down the firehouse
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
What's for dinner? And I told Brad the other day, that's why I asked Rob when he was leaving, I'd like to come down and cook dinner so they know they're going to
Cool.
get their, chicken,
Awesome.
cream of chicken,
Cranberry, right?
cranberry sauce.
A lot of
Yeah.
soy sauce.
I love
Yeah.
it. But anyway, Craig, thank you so
Thanks,
much
Craig.
for
Bro.
joining us tonight
it's a
and
pleasure
having
having you
us
here, brother.
at Fairview tonight. Rob, thanks for having us here also. Guys, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
National Fire Radio, we're doing a lot of good here, trying to bring forth the brotherhood and documenting those characters and their stories. And Craig's definitely one of those characters. Thank you again for having us and sitting with us and sharing some stories.
Right,
So,
man.
guys, for Jeremy,
And Rob, be safe, have a good week, and we'll see you on the next one.
you got it. Take care.
Hey everybody, it's Rob Ridley from National Fire Radio. Thanks for tuning in. Catch up with us on social media. We got
SoundCloud, National Fire Radio, YouTube, National Fire Radio, Instagram, National Fire Radio, and
always
Facebook, National Fire Radio. Guys, check us out. Take care. Be safe.